Okay, so I have a mic actually. So hopefully this works. I'll leave my mic up here because I've not actually thought this through and clipped it onto myself. There is a good chance it's not even doing anything, but it's worth trying. I'm new to YouTube, so I don't really, new, kind of, so I don't really understand what you can and can't do and how to do things. So before I start this, I want to say I don't know if I can say certain words. So when I say forced, you can imagine what I'm saying. There's a word that I don't know if you can use, but I've heard people using a different term. So what I'm going to say a PDF file, and yeah, I'm sure you can figure out what these things mean, but I don't think I'll be saying it in this one. But also grape to, so words that sound like what the real word is that YouTube might get rid of my video for, or even my channel. But yeah, I just wanted to explain because I know some people get really annoyed, and I think they think that it's just everyone's so sensitive. No, it's it's social media. It's nothing to do with a choice. So okay, a PDF file ring, which consisted of 7 Glasgow men and women, operated in plain sight for 7 years, despite what may appear to be major red flags. From 2012, a group of young children, including some young enough to still be wearing nappies, were subjected to organised. Okay, so I was going to say this word anyway. Grape nights, where they were given alcohol and I'm going to say Coca-Cola. You'll know what I mean, the drug, but I don't know if I can say this. Already this is so gross. I group. I'm trying to figure out how the kids were there. Were they their kids? None of those present. I'm reading this all wrong. None of those present tried to help the children, who were all under 13. Instead, they clapped, filmed, and paid for the abuse to continue. That is horrible. One boy remembers hearing a beep, indicating a timer when one grape would end and another would begin. This began to hot. It is wrote in a jumbly way as well. It's not just me. I'm trying to make the sentences make sense. So basically, I think it's saying the horror began to unfold behind the doors of a ground floor flat in a city suburb infested by insects, which was known as the Beastie House. Which, how that wasn't investigated alone is disgusting. Yeah, we have this habit of in the UK, if something's not directly affecting us, we will not question it, and we need to because, yeah, gross stuff is happening. The gang even forced the primary school aged children to eat dog food and abuse each other while they're. Am I allowed to say this word? I'm going to try it and then hopefully I'll figure out if this video gets made, cut off. Oh no, not to say it again. And abuse each other while their molesters crowded around to spectate. They were shoved in microwaves a locked fridge and freezer. One girl was hung by her clothes from a nail in the kitchen. Who were these children? Were they their children? I'm so confused. Have they said this? And I'm just an idiot. Hello. Okay, during the trial in 2023, which eventually saw the 7 abusers each receive an order for lifelong restriction. I don't know what that means. Judge Lord Beckett said the scandal plunged into the depths of human depravity. The gang comprised Ian Owens, who's 46, Elaine Lannery, who's 40, Leslie Williams, who's 43, Paul Brennan, who's 42, Scott Forbes, who's 51, Barry Watson, who's 48, and John Clark, who's 48. They are all now in prison for a total of almost 100 years. Which... Is there not a thing where we can just chuck them forever? Because if you can do that to children, I can't. You're not going to get better, are you? Yeah, gross. And yeah, you'll probably, there's a vulnerable person in prison, you'll probably try and do something to them as well. Like, they should not be released. They shouldn't be allowed near the public. There are questions around how this could have happened in the first place. The children were visited by social workers. Oh, here we go. We all know about these. And even placed on the Child Protection Register. Why can't I speak? Register. In 2018, before police cracked the case in 2020. That's 2 years. That's 2 whole years. Why does that need 2 years? That's crazy. How can it be those youngsters who were being regularly raped as part of an organised ring could simultaneously sit on a register designed to prevent them from harm? Police worked through almost 1,000 pieces of evidence, so surely there would be someone willing to discuss the warning signs they spotted. Yet surely the neglect alone, they don't even need to be abusing, even though neglect is abuse, but having that environment, they should have been away from them because they clearly couldn't look after children anyway. But nobody, from barbers to local shopkeepers, would speak until a man who had finally spoke to detectives as part of the investigation spoke out. Speaking publicly for the first time, he revealed he saw the children regularly and recalled an evening where he spotted head lice on one girl and tried to arrange treatment. Okay, this is a quote. One of their hair was messy with head lice, and because she was the same age as my child, I said, "Why won't you do your hair?" She left them on her head to try and keep those beasts away from her. The head lice protected her from them. I don't know if I'm buying that. Also, I hope he called social services after that. Children, a lot of the time, children are unaware if they have head lice, and even if they could do something about it, they don't want to get the adults who are looking after them in trouble by being like, "Oh, I've got head lice, and now local people are shaming you, and it's going to make you look bad." Abused kids and neglected kids often will just protect the adults because they know no different and they're scared of them. But, okay. The man said he had concerns about how malnourished some of the victims were and described noticing the situation going wrong in 2018. Okay, so maybe he did call social services. They were always lingering around adults to try and get food. They were scavenging. It was heartbreaking. Concerns were raised with charities too. The actions of social workers, police, and child protection services are now being investigated as part of an independent review. These reviews are commonplace across Britain when serious harm or death, am I allowed to say that word, is inflicted on a child. But how effective are they when a commitment of lessons will be learned, quotations, is then undone when the next tragedy comes? They need to work quicker. I say this as someone who's gone through what I went through. Like, a lot of people, especially with child abuse and neglect, they do have a not my circus, not my monkey. So I don't want to wrongly accuse. It's better to wrongly accuse because you can do it anonymously. It's better to wrongly accuse and worry about the child's safety than it is to just not do anything or, you know, obviously social workers aren't very good at even checking. One former children's commissioner for Scotland and leading child protection expert said the entire review process was being re-examined. Pardon me. Tam Bailey said, learning reviews are important. The challenge for them is how effectively we implement the recommendations that come from the reviews. I mean, people have been complaining about social services for quite a long time. Not much seems to be changing. There is no point in doing the review unless it actively affects change in the system, they've said. Mr. Bailey, who is 35 years of experience in child protection, said the public were right to ask questions about this case. He said currently the process of learning reviews is being looked at so we can make improvements to ensure we don't keep looking at the same lessons coming up time and time again, like they are. I sat in the courtroom during the trial as the PDF files, who were on bail at the time, laughed and joked in the dock between breaks. Bail. What's that? So they don't. I think as soon as you find that out, they need to be in jail constantly and sent straight to prison, even when they're waiting for this court thing, because it's such a serious case. If I'm right, bail means that they were given certain time to be free, which those children will never understand freedom because they're gonna have, I was gonna say PTSD, but it's gonna be CPTSD. They're never gonna get over this. They were filmed with their mask-covered faces entering and leaving court. They would yell obscenities and threaten to attack us. One repeatedly shouted that the children were liars. The jury did not believe a word of it and found them guilty. I think if you're wrongfully, like, no matter what it is, if you call a victim of a crime you've done a liar and try to smear their name and call them, because that could ruin their life, that someone gets called a liar anyway. You should get in trouble just for that anyway. I know they'll be in trouble because of how bad they've done, but like when someone's been assaulted, it's like, oh, they're lying. No, 30 more years. But that's just me. At the end of another grueling day of evidence, two of the accused walked out of their taxi and threatened to batter reporters and even lunged in their direction. Why are they... what? They were swiftly told to shut up and get in the car by the lingering police officers. Okay, well that's good. Days later, a jury convicted them of some of the most heinous crimes this country has ever seen. We've had these sort of crimes before as well. If you're watching who's not from the UK, there was quite a horrible case. I don't want to say the name in case I get it wrong and I've actually just said someone completely different's name, but of PDF files, a woman again, which I don't think I'll ever understand how a woman can quite think like that. But I mean, I can't understand how men can think like that. But when it's a woman, you just naturally like to assume that the kids are going to be safer with them. One leading KC, Thomas Leonard Ross, who was involved in the trial, said this case was the tipping point for him. After working on 400 High Court cases, he is so traumatized. He says he will never work on a sex abuse case again. That makes me really sad. Obviously, he's done an amazing job, but if he's seen awful things and he's traumatized, I don't know, we need to start doing more in this country so it doesn't even get to this extreme. He said, "It's the worst example of child abuse I have ever heard. It was awful to sit and listen to. You were left with the impression that these children were known to social work department. It seemed surprising that steps hadn't been taken to remove them from the scenario they were in earlier." Yeah, actually disgusting. 7 people. And whenever there's a case like this, I always think there's definitely more. There's definitely more people who knew about this. Yeah, filmed and paid, which makes you think someone online must have some of this disgustingness. But yeah, really horrible story. But these things are happening all the time, and we like to think because we're in the UK that we're safer, but we're just not safer at all. There's horrific crimes going on all the time, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. I also wanted to talk about how social workers, they kind of don't do anything worth helping, and I don't know if that is actually the social workers' fault or whether they're told they can't visit after they've seen so much and they've heard so much, or what it is. But you know, yeah, I won't go any more into it in this video, but there needs to be more happening in this country. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, because it's a slightly different video to what I usually do. Hopefully I can understand YouTube a little bit better when I upload my next video that's as serious as this. And I hope everyone's being safe. If you see anything that you question, especially if it's related to children, don't. You can always anonymously report, even if it turns out to be wrong. So much better that you've reported it than potentially leave a child and have not reported it. Yeah. Look after yourselves, and yeah, bye.